Welcome back to the Strong Families podcast. I'm Amy.
I'm Jo, and today we have Sarah with us, joining us on the podcast. We are so excited to have you.
I'm so excited.
Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear your story, hear a bit about what you're passionate about. We're going to be talking about fostering today. Yeah. But first, why don't you just give us your family snapshot? Who's in your family and what are you all about?
All right, so there's me, Sarah, and my husband, Dan, and we have 2 children. So we have a 9-year-old boy and we have a 5-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. Our 5-year-old girl is our foster daughter. Yeah. And how we came into the fostering journey was with her. And we are a bit of a chaotic family at times. We have a few little additional needs and diagnoses here and there. And so it makes life interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Adds a bit of colour.
It does.
Nice.
We're definitely colourful.
Yeah.
Full of personality.
Yeah. So big personalities in your household. Yeah. Are they similar to one another or quite different, all the personalities?
My husband and my son are both fairly similar.
Yeah.
They both love humour.
Great.
Both love high energy, rough games, being outdoors, adventure. And my little girl is very energetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very busy as well. I think I could say that there is just constant noise and talking and fun and games, but there's a lot of laughter and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Does that mean you have to bring the calm?
Yes.
Are you the level? I feel like every family needs some kind of leveling out, you know?
Yeah.
And there's often someone who kind of just steadies the ship and brings the calm. Is that you?
I'm definitely the calm in the family. Yeah. I like to bring the order to the chaos. I like organisation. Yeah. I like systems and I like things going to plan. Great. So, but I would say I'm probably the only one in the family who feels that way.
I was just imagining just all this chaos and you're just sitting on the couch like, can we just calm?
Yes.
And just things are shattering and yelling. Can we just stop? Nice. So, well, we're excited to talk to you today about fostering. I honestly don't know a lot about fostering. So this is genuinely, I'm so intrigued. So there'll be a lot of questions coming from this end of the table. Great. Amazing. Can you tell us why fostering? When did this passion start and how did you end up here?
Yeah, so actually when I was a teenager, I first kind of had my eyes open to the fostering world. My family, some extended family, had a situation where my parents were approached whether they would care for some family, and it just really opened my eyes to the world. I think wasn't super aware. I think I was aware of children in need and families in need. I think a lot of people are aware of people being in need and people struggling, but maybe not so much the fostering world where there are orphan children or children who are in need of a safe place to land. Yeah. So I was a teenager and just had my heart ignited for that and just had those thoughts of like, one day I would love to do that. I would love to be a part of the fostering world. I didn't know how that looked. I really didn't have much of an idea. I vaguely knew of a family who fostered, but other than that, didn't really have much to do with the fostering world, and it kind of started from there. Yeah. And then kind of progressed. Yeah.
And was it a conversation early on with your husband, you know, that you kind of said, this is a goal, this is a dream of mine? And how did he take that? Is it something, that was an easy conversation or a bit of a difficult one to navigate? How did that go?
Yeah, so he was aware that I was nannying and babysitting and lots of those different things before we were together. Yeah. And he knew that I always loving other people's children as my own, in the sense of if I was to babysit them, I would give them as much value as if they were my own child, and I would love them completely, and I would just do anything possible. So he always saw that in me, but I had spoken about fostering a little bit, but maybe not to a huge extent. So I would say that I made it clear that I wanted to foster. He might have a different story. Okay. He definitely was open to the idea. We talked about adoption and things like that. Didn't really make a set plan. This is what we want to go into parenthood. This is how we want to do it. But more so, this is something I always said, this is always something I want to do.
Yeah.
And I always said to him the statement, I don't know if I could die happy if I didn't open my home to a child.
Yeah.
I think you made it pretty clear.
Yeah, that's clear. That's very clear.
But I get what you're saying though. Like before you even, start thinking about having kids, often it's all very hypothetical, isn't it? And you're like, these are my values or these are my intentions.
Hypothetical parenting is much, much easier.
It really is.
I was the best hypothetical
I was
mum.
an awesome hypothetical parent.
For kids, yeah. Oh, amazing. So when did you guys come to the decision, we're doing this?
Yeah, so we had our son already at the time, and he was possibly about 1, and I just couldn't get it off my brain. I was a stay-at-home mum with him, and just kept thinking about children and need. And by that stage, I had a little bit more of like an open eyes to the fostering world now that I was an adult and a parent myself. And I said to him, I kind of just kept doing a bit of research, and I would just have these moments where I would get to know a child or a family and find out that the child was a foster child. And it just kind of kept occurring, and I thought that's so strange that just keeps happening. I just feel drawn to this world. And so I said to him, I really want to do this. And our son was quite young, and he actually came from working in like the youth residential world. So he was actually very anti-fostering at this stage of life. He had kind of seen the opposite side of things where children had grown up in the system, gotten to a place where they kind of were just maintained and given all of these things and very hard to manage. And so he had worked in that field and had felt really discouraged by it because he felt like he couldn't bring change to their lives.
Right. So he kind of thought, I don't want us to get involved in this system that seems broken.
It's broken.
It doesn't seem like it's working, and that's not something that I want to bring into our
and he said,
life.
I don't want them telling us what to do and all the red tape and inviting that into our home. And so we kind of went on for a little bit, and I said to him, could we just try doing an information session? And he said, okay, I'm willing to do that. And I then got to a point where I contacted the place and we were going to go to the information session, and I thought to myself, we can't do this if we're not both 100% on board with this. It's not going to work. It's a hard world. And at that stage I already had a little bit of an understanding, and I thought, no, I'm going to wait. Wait. And so we did. We waited a few more years, and we thought, we'll have our own kids, and we'll wait for them to all grow up, and then we'll reconsider, because that's what he kind of thought. He kind of thought, let's just have our own children, and then then we'll open up our doors to fostering. And I was kind of like, no, let's just do all the chaos together.
So you do like a bit
I have
of chaos.
a little bit of chaos. Yeah, a little bit of chaos. Yeah, I feel like it's in the right ways, but he probably disagrees.
Well-placed chaos.
Yes, he so we did wait, and then we didn't end up falling pregnant again. And so we kind of thought, well, we have this space. We're already raising a child. Maybe now would be an okay time. So this was a few years after this. Our son was probably about maybe 4 by this stage. And we just felt, both of us individually felt on our hearts that we wanted to locally adopt. We kind of started thinking, hey, what about adopting locally? Like maybe we don't have to get involved in the fostering world. We could adopt locally, and that could be the answer. And so we really looked into that, and we prayed about it, and we went to our pastors, and they were like, this is awesome, you guys. This would be perfect. And so, we submitted the application. We just were like, yes, like this must be, we just feel like it's the right thing. It's going to plan. So we submitted it, and we got a call from the place, and they said, look, you've been approved. We love your application. I just want to let you know that there's really low stats of adoption within Queensland and within Australia. It's actually not a very done thing. So I just want you to be aware that the chances are actually quite slim.
Whoa.
And it kind of felt like it was quite a shock. We weren't aware. We had heard a little bit that, you know, it's difficult to adopt, but we didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
She started telling us the percentages and how low Queensland is with adoptions, and then said, you know, some of those children that are put up for adoption, that's, you know, they're terminally ill or they're very, very sick, and you're just looking after them in hospital, and kind of just gave us a bit more of an understanding of the adoptions that were happening. We felt completely shocked by it. We thought, this is what we're meant to do. We want to, we want to adopt locally. We want to, you know, it's beautiful. People adopt internationally, and but we just thought we want to do this in our own neighborhood. We want to be the answer in our own neighborhood, and so we just were so surprised by that. And she said, look, the best thing I would recommend is to do fostering and to do long term. And Dan said, oh no, I don't think we should do fostering. So we were a little bit heartbroken. And then, so we then just waited for a while. And in this meantime, I had been chatting with another friend who was a foster carer of a little girl. And she connected with me and another friend who had actually adopted locally. And so we were in chats. And so she was probably one of the very few people that actually knew about this application and that this is something we wanted to do. And so Dan had said to me, he said, look, I would foster, but it would have to be a really specific situation.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought, okay.
Little window.
Yeah, we've got an opening. So he definitely wasn't completely 100% on board because he had seen the other side of things. But he wasn't closed off to it. And so he, I kind of kept in touch with these people and we were chatting, and then one day, randomly out of the blue, she messages me and says, hey, my little girl's mum has had a baby. They're actually looking for a long-term placement for her. She's 9 months old. They're looking for it. Would you guys be interested? And just straight away that moment, I knew that it was going to happen. I just had this moment, and I messaged Dan and I was like, oh my goodness. And he's like, yep. We need to go for it. We need to say yes.
It's like there's been all this preparation in your heart and in your home leading up to that point. Like all of those things that you thought might have been dead ends or, you know, conversations that were wasted. It was like really just preparing you to be ready so that when she arrived, when the opportunity arrived, you were like, okay, like we know that we can say yes to this. That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was the turnaround from finding out there's a little girl to you have the little girl?
So we found out must have been the end of August about her. We managed to, because of my friend having her older sister, we managed to connect with her carer. Because she was already in care. She was on what they call an interim order, which is very common for babies to be on an interim order. They can be up on that up until the age of 2. Till they can actually decide what kind of order they're going to be placed on. Even if it's pretty sure that they'll go long term, it's quite often they'll wait that out to kind of give as much time as possible for things to change before the age of 2. So they had said she's on an interim order, but they're looking for long-term carers. She's been with her carer already for 8 months. They would like to find a long-term home so she can bond with those people. So we put our hands up. We had to push pretty hard. We got in contact with the child safety office. We got connected with her carer. We got to meet her and meet the carer, and then we got contacted by them, but it was just slow. It was really slow moving because she was in a safe home already.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you met her, you still didn't have certainty that she was going to be coming home with you.
No.
That would be so hard knowing, okay, she's in a safe place, but she needs someone long term. We're putting our hands up, but there's still this system. And the system has to say yes. We can't just go in and decide.
So even though there could be a placement, it's really quite complicated because child safety really work on an emergency basis where they have to go to the most emergent thing. And so when a child's already in a safe home, it's hard to move that placement, even if that is the best thing for the child. So her carer kind of had to give them a bit of a time frame and say, look, you need to find a placement. Even though she loved her,
She almost had
she
to push
wanted
and
what was
say,
best for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of took a
Wow.
bit of pushing from a lot of people. We
Yeah.
attended a training straight away. We got approved as community kin, which was possible at the time, but not possible now.
Okay.
Which is kind of somebody, if you're connected to them within their community, you can become approved, and it's a faster process.
Sure.
The usual process of becoming a carer can be, from start to finish, can be about 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Between training and approvals and interviews and then just wait times
Yeah.
where you really do just need to stay on top
Yeah.
of people because their worlds are so busy. So
Yeah.
we have a foster agency who train the carers and they look after the carers and they kind of educate you, and they're your sounding board. And then you have child safety as well, which advocate for the child
Yeah.
and the care needs of the family. So we got connected with both of those things. We did training, our approvals, our home, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of need to set up your home,
Yeah.
even if you don't know that you're definitely going to get them.
Wow.
So it actually was only really September to December. We got her December 15th.
Okay.
But it felt like eternity
It
because they were wanting a place for her.
Yeah.
We were available. And the whole time
Yeah.
we're saying, we're available. And we just had to wait.
What a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you still have that fear of like,
This could
this
fall
is out of
through,
my
yeah.
control
Yeah.
and things could change.
Yeah.
And then how does it work? Can you put your hand up only for long-term placements, or when you decide to foster, do you kind of get to kind of talk through, this is the type of fostering we'd like to do?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when you do your application, there's age groups that you can select. So you can select multiple age groups. You can select a certain age group. You can select gender, needs,
Wow.
things like that.
Yep.
So as terrible as that sounds, it really is for the benefit of the child.
Absolutely.
So maybe someone has an all-boy family and they just want to foster a boy.
Yeah.
Maybe a similar thing. They have all girls. They want to foster
Yeah.
a girl. Maybe a certain age. A lot of people, it's recommended to foster a couple of years younger than your youngest.
Okay.
So that doesn't happen in every family. Some people foster children of all ages, but
Yeah.
that's often the recommendation from a foster agency. So you can actually kind of pick and choose in your application, but
Yeah.
they will still offer or ask you to have children within certain ages that might be outside of what you put as your
Yeah.
preferred. You could put your hand up for sibling groups. You could say, we've only got capacity for one child.
Yeah.
You can be quite specific with it
Wow.
because the need is so huge that they really are so thankful for
Right. They're
for
"Look,
anything. They
yeah.
will offer something else to see if
Yeah.
there is kind of budging room. But they also then respect boundaries
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they just need carers. So when we put our hands up for our little girl, we specifically went in for her.
Yeah.
And we weren't open to other placements
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
So we became community kin, but specifically approved for her.
Yeah.
I kind of said, I think my husband was very careful in saying no, just one specifically for
Yeah.
now, because he knew that if I was getting
Yeah.
phone calls at that stage, there's no way I'd be saying
Yeah,
no.
It might have
True,
just
yeah.
'Cause at
opened
that-
up your
yeah,
home
at that
to-
stage, I just was like, no, everybody and
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, him and his wisdom,
Yeah.
it was good, well timed.
Sounds like you're a good team.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
And so what has the experience been like for your family? Has it been, a big adjustment? I just want to know, what joys has it brought?
Yeah.
What maybe adjustments has it brought in you personally and in your family?
Yeah, so I often say when people ask me about fostering, it is the hardest but best thing I've done.
Yeah.
I've never done something so hard in my life. Between liaising with different agencies and child safety and biological family and navigating the many aspects that come into the child's world, because you're not just going for the child, you're having a part of another family.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of hard times. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of confusion and discouragement. But I just could never, ever, it could just never outweigh the joy of a little person and being able to provide a safe place for them. the joy of being able to be light in another family and bring an aspect of healing where there's just so much brokenness. Within the fostering and the, within child safety even, to be able to do right when it's really hard. When you want to spit the dummy and be so frustrated at the system and things that aren't, feeling like they're always in place for the best of that child. Just learnt to do the right thing and to stick true to what we believe and where we've been called, and to be a light there. And I just, having a child who comes into your home, it's not always beautiful and not always easy, but it's also the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen. And to see them grow up with confidence and security, to have those things has just been life-changing. I just couldn't imagine life without it. I would never do life differently. I
was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, I bet you just cannot imagine your life without her. That just seeing the story of how it all played out, it's like, that this is just what you were always meant to do. What would you say to another family who's thinking about fostering but maybe has, I know there's some really common fears of, how could I emotionally handle that, or, how could I work this system that has its definitely some very real flaws. I guess what encouragement would you give to someone considering it? What should they really think about before they jump in? What advice?
I would say become friends or connected with people who are foster carers already. I think that's one of the best ways to start understanding the world, because I think it's less likely to catch you by surprise, but also they're great people to lean on. That's been just the best thing for us, is to be able to message other families who are in similar places and just have that understanding and that support from them. I would say go to an information session. That's not a tying you in forever and you're locked down and you can never say no. A really good way to start is respite. So just offering respite, which is sometimes kind of becoming a bit of an auntie and uncle to a child, where a family might need a break sometimes. Maybe they're not allowed to take them on holidays with them. There might be some restrictions, so maybe you become that place and you become a support for that family. So I would say do the information session. I think they're so worth it. I would say definitely get within the family or within the friendship of someone who is in the fostering world, and ask them questions and get curious. And I would say maybe become trauma informed. I think that's something that I wasn't taught. And I think parenting children with a trauma background, whether they're removed as a young baby, there's a common thing where people say, oh, I just want a baby, because then they haven't been through the abuse and through the pain and through the hurt, but a baby has still been removed from their maternal family. And so that is still brokenness, and there is still always going to be something there. So I think become informed on trauma and backgrounds while you are waiting.
That's great advice. I have learnt so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I've really enjoyed this, and I'm definitely going to have more questions just later when we chat. But we would love to know, what is your parenting hack? What makes parenting a little bit easier? Help the rest of us out.
Okay. My super inspirational parenting hack, super inspirational.
Let's go for it. I'm ready.
Is to always have a packet of Corn Thins in the car.
The flavoured ones?
Well, we just do plain.
Okay.
We just do plain.
My kids love the sour cream and chive ones.
They keep really well. They are cheap. They sit in the car, and for the child that's hungry, having a tantrum, wherever you are, you have a snack. Packet of Corn Thins is my go-to.
That's amazing.
That actually has just really helped me. But I'm also really concerned that that's more for me and I will consume it.
Yeah, I've been known to eat it for breakfast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Genuinely, thank you so much for sharing
You're welcome.
This is why we ask this. Because
Because
people often are like, oh, it's a bit silly. And you're like, no, that
No,
was
that
going to
actually
help
really
me
helps me.
tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Did Dan have anything to do with that hack, or is that all you?
He reminded me of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
He
We'll
was
make
like,
sure you
hey,
thank
we
him."
have a packet of corn thins in both our cars.
Something we do.
Just add it to the shopping cart every week. Just
All the
refresh.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, done. Noted. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. This has been a treat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank